What is holistic wellness and what are the basic foundations of a holistic wellness lifestyle? In this video, I'm going to give you just the simple basics that will be easy to implement into your life. So if you are interested in this, then keep watching. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to give a rundown of the very basic foundations of a holistic wellness lifestyle. So holistic means a body, mind, and soul, and you don't want to leave any of those out when you are, trying to be healthy, because we really need to focus on all three. And wellness means to be in a state of being that will bring you good health. So wellness encompasses many things, and mostly I like to say that it's really what you do every day. It's how you live your life. It's your lifestyle. So there are basic foundations that make up a holistic wellness lifestyle, and they're not complicated, and they're not expensive, and most of them are natural. Most of them are easy, cheap, free, and very inexpensive. The most expensive thing that I'm going to share with you might cost a few dollars. So this is a great way to prevent future illnesses if you're on a budget. So let's go through these basic foundations. We're going to start with the body, because that's always the best place to start when you're looking at a holistic lifestyle. So the first one I'm going to talk about is sunlight and nature. So this is free, this is good for you because humans need to be in alignment with the sun. Now, there are caveats to this, of course. Everybody's heard that you get skin cancer if you're in the sun too long, so you don't really want to be out in the sun, particularly during the midday hours when it's really high in the sky, because, that's the time when the least of the atmosphere is able to filter out the harmful rays. And also, this is actually, something that it's very minimalistic. We don't need a lot of sunlight. We just need a minimum of 20 minutes a day. And I shouldn't say only, but we mostly need it in the morning when you first wake up. So when you first wake up, if you can get outside in the sunlight for 20 minutes, this is really good enough. Now, nature is part of this, so your body will be healthier the more you spend in nature, of course. But what I like to tell people is to try to be outside during the sunset and the sunrise. Those are the two best times of day to be outside. So you really don't have to, revolve your life around being outside. The next one is adequate sleep, and this is so crucial as well, because sleep is when our body heals itself, when it rejuvenates, when it detoxes, when it heals. Pretty much everything that your body needs to do to keep you alive and safe is when you're sleeping or when you're resting. So getting between 7 to 9 hours a night, depending on your body type, depending on certain factors. But basically, you want to be sleeping during the hours for sure between midnight and 3 a.m., but if you can help it, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Those are the best hours to sleep. And there's a lot of things that go into good sleep hygiene. I've got a video about that if you are really interested in learning about how you can improve your sleep. So we're going to move on to the next one now, and that is adequate amounts of spring water or filtered water. Spring water is the healthiest water that you can drink. You can also use filtered water, such as a reverse osmosis machine. So the reason why this is important is most people don't think about drinking water. Most people drink soda tea is acceptable, of course, because tea is just water that's got herbs in it. So that's good, but most people drink milk or juice or soda or alcohol even, and they don't even think to purposely go out of their way to just drink plain water. And this is so crucial. Most people are dehydrated and don't even know it, because you don't really know that you're dehydrated until your body starts showing you the emergency signs, which are thirst. If you ever feel thirsty, that means you already have been dehydrated. And our bodies are 70% water, so this is something that it goes a long way if you just sip water throughout the day. And make sure your water is not ice cold. That's another thing, another side tip for you, because that will destroy the enzymes in your stomach, and it'll make it so that you can't digest your food hardly, like you would normally be able to. So drinking room temperature water or even warm water is great, and this is why tea is so good. And also, you don't want to drink a lot of water while you're eating your meals. So the last thing you want to do is slam a whole glass of anything during your meal. So what you want to do is sip throughout the day. Or, you can drink a full glass in the morning. That's a great time to get a boost of hydration. I also drink a cup of tea at night too, because I feel like that's a good way to wind down for the night with a cup of tea, and it's always some kind of a herbal tea that's relaxing. And, I don't do it directly before bed. I do it like an hour or two so that I have time to go to the bathroom. I don't wake up in the middle of the night having to go. So the next one on this list is fresh, whole, unprocessed foods that are in season and organic. So the organic thing, you might have heard of the Dirty Dozen. That is the 12 fruits and vegetables that you should always buy organic because they have thin skin and they're very easily, I want to say the word poisoned, but it's not going to kill you. It's just, you don't want to eat those chemicals. So, and then eating in season is also very crucial because there are certain times of the year where certain things do certain things to our body that help it to help your immune system, to help your digestion. So eating in season is super crucial too. And then, diets can vary depending on your body type and depending on your needs, depending on lots of things, and depending on if you're trying to lose weight or whatever. But the one thing that is consistent throughout every diet is fresh, whole, unprocessed foods. So these are produce. These are whole foods, fruits and vegetables mostly. It's really very simple. It's just that people don't know how to eat those types of foods. Like, leafy greens, most people think of, well, I don't like salads, or in the middle of winter, I don't want to eat leafy greens. But there's so much more to that, and this video can't possibly go into the whole subject of that, but that's something that I will probably make more videos about, and I have made other videos about, and I do talk about that in my online course, Holistic Lifestyle Basics. I go more in depth about the food thing in that course than I do anywhere. So that's a good course to take if you're really serious about living a holistic lifestyle and you really want to learn about food, because I have a really big module on just food by itself. So moving on to the next one, we've got movement, exercise, stretching, and avoiding sitting. So this is another crucial foundation of a healthy lifestyle because our bodies were meant to move, and this is how we stimulate the digestion, the circulation, and the lymph system. So getting adequate movement, they usually say, it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing muscle training, that is something that you should do 2 to 4 times a week. And as far as cardio type stuff, every day is good for that. You don't need to do hours of it though. I think 20 minutes a day, I've heard, is the most common length of time minimum. So, that's what I strive for. And then stretching, that's something separate because we need to stretch before and after we exercise, but also stretching is good by itself. And that's where yoga comes in. Yoga is a really good practice to get your body limber and work your muscles, and you're doing a lot of benefits for your body when you're doing yoga. So basically, you want to avoid sitting for any length of time. I've heard that if you sit for more than 2 hours at a time, it's really bad, but I have a timer that tells me every hour I get up and stretch and I walk around. So I am never sitting for more than an hour at a time. And if you work at a desk, then it would be very wise to check into those standing desks, those kinds that are adjustable, if you can. Breathwork is the other one that rounds out the foundations of the physical health section. And this is because we don't focus on how we breathe, and most of us breathe very shallowly. We don't actually take full breaths. We don't breathe through our diaphragm into our abdomen. And so there are a lot of studies that are backing up breath work. It can calm you down. If you do the breath where you breathe in for a couple counts and then you breathe out for longer, that automatically puts you into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the system that puts you into the rest and digest mode. That's when your body's doing all of its healing. So if you can use breath to get your body into a calm state, there's actually a lot of things you can do to get your body into a calm state. One of them that I've really been interested in lately is sound healing. And when you combine sound healing with breath work, that is just magical. That's one of the few things that it's becoming my go-to. Like, if you can combine any couple things together, listen to sound healing and do breath work at the same time, that's just magical. And I'm going to be diving more into that subject in the future and doing more videos about that. So moving along to the next section is the mind. So part of a holistic lifestyle is living so that you have good mental health, of course, because what's physical health if you don't have your mental health? And this includes mental and emotional, because our emotions usually arise from thoughts, and the thoughts are from the mind. It's all, stuff that you tend to think about as being in your head. Your mental and emotional issues usually strive from this area, or come from this area. So the first one on this list is meditation and altered states. So what I mentioned a little bit ago about sound healing, this is a way to get into an altered state immediately. And a lot of people struggle with meditation. So I've actually got a lot of information out there about how to meditate easily, alternative ways to meditate for people who aren't good at meditation. I've got a video about that, I think. I'm not quite sure if I published it yet, but I'll share it with you if I did. I talk about that in my online course as well. And I also have articles on how to get into altered states. So that's a great thing to do if you struggle with the monkey mind, overthinking. And that's something that I've always struggled with. And that's why I know that these things work, because honestly, sometimes you can't stop your mind from worrying or thinking. And the only thing, for me anyway, that has helped with that is listening to things that help put me into an altered state. So sound healing. Again, I'm going to say sound healing because I'm kind of obsessed with that subject right at the moment. So that is a great way to get into altered states. Journaling. This is another thing that I just am obsessed with. I do this in the morning and at night. I've actually got a side business about journaling and a side YouTube channel because it's kind of its own little world. There's so much about journaling to learn, and it's one of the few things that you can do for your health that is good for your body, mind, and your soul. Believe it or not, there are physical benefits to journaling, such as lowered blood pressure. That's another thing that puts you into like the alpha state, which is one of the altered states that you can get into to put your body into that parasympathetic system mode. Nature. I've already mentioned nature before, but nature is so healing for all parts of us, equally healing for our body and our mind. So I won't go too much into that. Nature's a whole nother subject I could talk about for a long time, and I've actually got a PDF download about how to align with nature and connect with nature, and so that's something that you can check out if you're interested too. Stress reduction, that is something that encompasses many, many topics, but in a nutshell, if I could sum up stress reduction, it's really all of these things combined to help you reduce your stress, such as being in nature, journaling, and getting into altered states. And whatever you can do, really. I mean, a lot of people have different ways of reducing stress. So aside from the tips that I'm giving you, I'm sure you have your own. So stress reduction should be something that we should focus on every day, because there is no such thing as setting it aside for later, because every time you turn your back on your stress and ignore it and just, you think you could handle it, it's going to build up and it's going to be a cumulative effect. It's not going to be something that you can just erase, like the sleep debt. There is no such thing as sleep debt. I mean, I'm sorry, there is such a thing as sleep debt, but you cannot get rid of it. You can't just take back the time that you missed from sleeping, because your body has already suffered the consequences. Same with stress. Stress is actually the #1 cause of doctor visits when you include the fact that stress causes chronic illnesses in conjunction with lifestyle, the way that people live their lifestyle, and also in conjunction with genetics. But genetics does not play as big of a role as we think. And that's a whole nother subject as well. I'm finding that I could really talk about each one of these for probably an hour, so I'm going to have to keep moving to get through the rest of this video quickly. So the next one is to avoid toxic relationships in workplaces. This probably ties in with stress reduction, but it deserves its own separate mention because it's such a prevalent problem nowadays. Most people are not happy in their jobs, and there are many people that are not happy in their relationships. And a huge percentage of these jobs and relationships are actually toxic. Not just borderline okay, like I can tolerate it, but actually bad for you. So that's a whole nother subject too, that, you really have to be discerning when it comes to if it's really toxic for you or if it's something that you can tolerate. Personal development or personal growth. There's a lot of terms for this, but basically it's bettering yourself. Bettering yourself as a human, bettering your health, bettering the way that you are in the world, your behaviors, your values, your morals, your education, your expansion, your evolution, all of these things. I put this under the mind category, but this could also go under the soul category, because personal development is really a holistic thing. It's really, you as a person, you are a body, mind, and a soul. So anytime you are growing, evolving, and developing as a person, you are changing and evolving all parts of you, your body, mind, and your soul. But it's particularly crucial for your mind, because if your mind is not being stretched and learning and growing, then it becomes stagnant. And that's when people become complacent, and that's when people stop caring, when they lose motivation, when they start to basically give up. So what you want, and this is also good for mental diseases, like keeping your brain sharp. This also falls under this category. There's a lot of studies that have shown that the more blood you can get to the parts of your brain, and the more you can oxygenate your brain, and the more you can stimulate the nerve endings to connect. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. He says nerve endings, I think it's nerve endings, but nerves that fire together wire together. And that means that the more often you exercise your brain and push it to new limits and new boundaries, and then go past those limits and boundaries, the more you are growing. And that is just the key to so many things. And that's another deep rabbit hole, but I'll move on to the next one now. And that is work-life balance. So having a work-life balance is so crucial, because you don't want to tip the scales in either direction. You don't want to become lazy, but you also don't want to become a perfectionist, workaholic, overachiever. There's a balance. And that goes to anything in life, really. It's one of the immutable laws of the universe that balance is crucial. If anything goes out of balance, your body will go out of balance, and that's how diseases start. So having a good work-life balance is crucial. So moving on, now we're going to change gears a little bit to leave the body and the mind, and we're going to go into the area of metaphysics, and that's what spirit is all about. Spirit is about things you can't see, but you know. This is who we are for real. Like, this is, you know, you've probably heard the saying, you're just a body, a temporary body, because you are a soul having a human experience, and that's true. So we're going to go into all this right now. So how do you have a healthy spirit? How can you improve your spiritual health? The first one here is to a higher power. So that includes having a higher power of your choice. That doesn't mean that you are forced to stay in a religion that you were raised in. That means to resonate with the higher power that you have, that you believe feels right for you. So whatever that is. That could be nature. Well, I'll go into that in a minute too, but that could be any religion. It could be no religion. It could be science. It could be just something that you can't put a word to, but basically the feeling, the trust, the knowing that there is something higher, that there is something bigger than you. And that's pretty profound. The next one is nature, and this is something that one of my favorite subjects, obviously because I've mentioned it a few times, but spirituality and nature go together really, really well. If you are a spiritual person, you are probably going to be drawn to nature and enjoy it more and appreciate it more. And on the flip side, if you are a really nature-based person, like, you know, let's say you love hiking, you love swimming, you love camping, chances are you are going to have more of a spiritual side. Because nature, it kind of stimulates our feelings of, you know, something bigger than us. And we are part of nature. Humans are nature. We're made up of the same elements. And so it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial for all parts of us to be in nature as much as possible. Well, I mean, that's kind of a impossibility nowadays because we work indoors most of the time and it's too cold to be outside most of the time, half the time if you're living in the northern hemisphere. But, you know, you got to do what you can, and there's ways to bring nature into your home. You know, you can bring plants inside. You can watch documentaries about nature. That's something that people don't really think about that actually works. You know, in the middle of the winter, which it is right now as I'm recording this, sometimes I just put in a nature video and I start to feel like I'm really there, and that, you know, sometimes that's all you can do. So the next one on this list is to pray or meditate. So the reason why these are two separate things is because praying is usually what people do when they're in a religion, when they're asking the universe or God or whatever for assistance. Meditation is more of a listening. So where praying is asking, meditation is listening. It's really, meditation's more of a personal connection to the higher power, and praying is like, you know, talking to a separate higher power. So whichever one resonates for you. Those are two different things, but they fall under the same category because in order to have a healthy spiritual health, you know, a spiritual side of us, we do need that connection, and we need to either pray or meditate. You know, maybe even both. Maybe you're someone that likes to do both, and that's great. So the next one's journaling, and this works for body, mind, and soul, but I think journaling is equally as good for the mind as it is for the soul, because it depends on what kind of journaling you do, really. If you're journaling to find your life purpose, that's clearly a spiritual thing. And it's also a spiritual thing if you're doing nature journaling. So if you are into journaling, nature, and spirituality, those three things go together amazingly. Living your life purpose, this is probably the life goal of everybody. And if it's not, then that means you're probably not quite yet awoken to your highest potential. And maybe you don't have the motivation, you don't know what your life purpose is, but studies have actually proven that knowing and living your life purpose does improve your health and it improves your happiness. So that's enough reason for me, to help people try to find their life purpose. And this is part of why I'm into the holistic wellness thing so much, because when you live a holistic life, you are naturally going to find your life purpose. You're naturally going to evolve to the point where you either discover it or you already knew what it was, and now you have the motivation to actually start living it and taking the steps that it takes to live it. So living life purpose is crucial and amazing and such a big part of spiritual health and holistic lifestyle in general. The last one on this list is spiritual learning, growth, and evolution. So you might remember from the mind section where I talked about personal development and self-growth and those sorts of things. This is a little bit different this focuses on spirituality. So it's really good to stretch your mind normally when it comes to learning things, but I believe that people should also do this in a spiritual sense. So one of the best ways you can do this is to study or at least research all of the religions out there, because I was raised a Catholic and I was blown away at all of the religions that existed that I didn't even know were a thing. And once I realized that they were all out there, I was like, oh, there's so many to choose from. And it just blows my mind that I don't even know how many of the religions there are out there, but there's offshoots. Like each major religion has smaller offshoots. And if I'm saying this right, I think there's a couple hundred of them. I mean, that's just mind-blowing to me. And I think it's very limiting to live your life just in one religion your whole entire life. At least research the other ones, because you just never know when another religion is going to resonate with you, when it's going to have a lot of things about it that you love. And maybe, it's like anything in life. It's like relationships. It's like jobs. Don't settle on something just because you're already in it and it's all you know. There are so many more possibilities out there. And this is why I love to talk about, growth and evolution so much, because it's transformational. It's really transformational when you start to realize all the information that there is out there. And you can evolve your soul just by learning this information. And it's a deep rabbit hole, and I wish that I could just sit around all day and do spirituality work. It would just be great. I mean, sure, I could go live in an ashram and just meditate and study all the spiritual texts, but there's a lot more to life than that too. I mean, I wish that there was like a couple of me, and I could just take one of me, and that me would just sit and learn about spirituality all day long. And then the other me's could, travel and all the other things. So yes, that's a very important thing to do for your spiritual health for sure. So that is the end of the tips that I have for you to live a holistic lifestyle. And if all of this stuff sounds really good to you, but you're not quite sure how to remember, I mean, this was a lot of stuff. I've actually got a cheat sheet. All of the things that I talked about in this video are available in this cheat sheet. It's a printable download, and it's got all of the stuff I mentioned on it. And it's a perfect thing to print and laminate. I have a couple of these actually. I use them even in my business so that I can quickly look at all of the things that, all of the basic foundations, and they're all in one place. And so whenever I need a reminder, this sheet comes in handy. So this is a great sheet to print and put in a binder. Like, let's say you use a daily planner, which I recommend everybody do. They're one of the best things that I've ever done, and I sell them in my Etsy shop, and that's where this comes from. So the link will be down below in the description if you want to grab this. And like you can see in the picture, there's a great way to use this is to put it on your refrigerator. That way every day you can just glance at it and be like, oh, I didn't do that today, And And sure, the information that I gave you in this video was free, but what are you going to do? Are you really going to watch this video every day to remember all these things? And by now you've probably forgotten half of them anyway. So this is why I made this cheat sheet for myself, and I hope that it will be valuable for you and useful and beneficial. So you can check that out in the description if you want to grab that. And I also have another video that's very similar to this one where I talk about the fundamentals of holistic health. This is one of my podcast episodes, so you can check that out if you are interested in more and you like this video. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.